dwarfs has fruited and put out really beautiful clumps of bananas. This one, much less. The banana never grew quite as fast. He just didn't do very well in comparison to the others. In doing research, now different nutrient deficiencies can cause this, but the most likely culprit is potassium. Again, potassium is pretty much the most important nutrient, followed by nitrogen. In Florida soils with our sandy soil, potassium is just, you're going to have trouble. In addition to the low yield and the poor amount of hands, you can see the necrosis of the leaf margins here. That's a sign of potassium deficiency as well. Now there are other nutrient deficiencies that will cause something like this, but if you go to that HIFA group PDF that I mentioned, that guide, they have pictures of all the different nutrient deficiencies. So if something's looking wrong with your banana, go there, or other websites as well, and you can kind of figure out what you're deficient in. So I'm very likely this is potassium.
You were asking back there about what things that you can do to add potassium to the soil. Have you tried mulching with moringa leaves? Because the moringa leaves have 25 times the potassium of 17 times the potassium of bananas.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Where are they getting it from, though?
I'd be curious how many
that you're growing
pounds
in your
of
yard.
moringa leaves.
Yeah, but the soil is potassium deficient. Then
To begin with.
That's ground.
Maybe they make their own.
and also the volume you have
I'll
to use.
I'm growing a ton of moringa, and I
you
want
would
to
need-
have hundreds more. So that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Because I use that in my worm bins. That's what I feed my worms. I harvest moringa and sell it, but anything that's not sale quality, I dry and feed my worms with, and then if I have leftover, I just throw it on the garden.
And moringa send down a deep taproot, so they're probably bringing out potassium pretty deep, right? Whoa.
They are eating me alive
like
up
that.
there. I have so many of them.
Okay, let's look at harvesting pups.
It's harmless.
Don't like it.
You prefer the bites?
Yes.
I prefer the
Comfrey around your banana as well. That's awesome. That's a great idea. Very cool. So, good idea there. So here's one of the pups that was coming up from this dwarf Orinoco, and you can see, this is a little bit better yield than that one. Not as good as some of the others, but you can see the difference there. Although, again, you can see he's not completely happy. So there's different methods for harvesting pups. The best I have found, and I hope someone has a better way because my way stinks. It's a lot of work. What I've found is a shovel something like this and a mallet. And what I do is I go around, I dig down to the top of the soil, get down to where I can't dig anymore, and I just work to separate the pup from the mother. And it's a lot of work, and I hate doing it. So does anyone have better ideas?
I just use a regular shovel. Just push it down with my feet.
Really?
But I'm much stronger than you, so.
I've read it before you go. So you get more of the
Can I just take the tractor and scoop it
I don't
out?
really pay attention. Echo, you guys are talking amongst yourselves, I know.
Well, in Honduras, everybody keeps their shovel almost as sharp as their machete.
Yeah.
So you just go and you're done.
See what is it a flat shovel or one of the pointy ones? Because I
They
did
usually
that.
don't get to choose, but I've seen them both ways. But most guys would have a pointed shovel.
So you just need to sharpen your
Now, when
shovels.
it's way up, I mean, how do you just kind of get in there and
They
grab?
just would. Usually they would
First,
just
you need a bigger.
have the plant
handle.
over like this. They'd get their shovel in there, and then it would be done. And then you've got this side done. You lift it up like that. Put your shovel on this side. Wham. Lift it out.
Is it typical to wait?
Yeah, but that's not a shovel. What is that? That's
Like a spade.
That's like a 5-year-old would do.
like a
I've
toothpick.
taken some that I just got behind. It's a lot of work, but you can take them. You can take them when they're super small as well.
And most of the
And to
time,
go with that, wouldn't it be easier to take them when they're smaller? Wouldn't it
they'll
be
take their
less
machete.
Really?
They're not dealing with.
Sorry to get in your way here.
They would.
You have prickers all over you, right?
What are those?
Those
Can
little
you say that loud
sandburrs.
for the group?
The little,
Again,
Oh.
most
The
of
ones that
times,
hurt.
If they were
They're even in
transplanting
your
a
pants,
pup,
like.
I
Don't
didn't
sit
notice.
down when you
Off
get in
with
the
a
house.
machete,
Before you.
about there. Then they would take their shovel and dig it out, and then they would clean all of this out around it. They would leave it sit out in the shade for about 2 days and kind of let it crust over, and then
Why?
they would transplant it.
Why?
That way the
Uh,
dirt doesn't get fungus in it.
That's basically.
Oh, that's
what
smart.
And a lot of times, if they have like leftover wash water that has a little bit of Clorox in it, they'll just kind of not like dip it in the Clorox, but just kind of sprinkle it on there for antifungal again.
Oh, interesting.
But they almost always let it sit for a couple days and crust over before they put it back in the ground.
On the cut
Oh,
part.
wow.
Pardon me?
You're talking about on the cut
On the
part.
corm itself, and they'll clean it off and kind of take the outside leaves off, and you kind of get it down to it's like peeling an onion basically. You know, you've got that harder skin on the outside, the drier skin. And you peel an onion and you get down to that kind of glossy, moist looking skin, and that's what they'll take it down to, and then let that crust over for a couple days. I don't know if that's the way they would do it in Thailand.
Dave, you know,
That's the practice in Honduras. What's that?
We have nothing but the form.
No, they would cut it off right here and let it come back up out of the apical point. You don't have any transpiration that way. You're not, you know, as it's taking root and reestablishing itself, you're not fighting the moisture exiting through the leaves and all that kind of stuff. It all can put all its power in developing its food source there under the ground.
but isn't it better to separate them when they are smaller, so you don't have to
Yeah,
just cut them?
this would be a fairly typical size of a sword sucker that they would be taking off.
Oh yeah, I separate them when they are like 6-inch tall.
And I've seen that too,
Yeah.
but this will take off faster because it's got a little bit more horsepower.
More
in
roots.
there.
Oh, okay, I got you. All right, yeah, that makes sense.
How do you blend it afterwards, though? I mean, so you have like this like thing
You
like
just have this small thing, and then you plant it with about this much sticking up about, you know, basically, you can't see very well,
You
but
can pull him out. He's ready.
probably,
He's
I thought I had him ready.
Go ahead.
Come on, guys, you can do it. All right.
okay, so
I'll hold him for you.
they would clean all the roots off of this.
Okay.
They just take their machete and kind of shave it off, and they get it down to this skin right here. And they would have cut it off right about here.
Discard the top.
They discard the top and they plant it with about this much sticking above the ground. So let's call it
You
3
guys thought
fingers
they
width
discard
sticking
the
above
bottom,
ground.
right? That's what I thought probably.
I haven't
No, you
planted
discard
bananas
the
at
top.
Echo yet. I haven't been there long enough to do it, but that's the way we did it in
So when you
Honduras.
say this shit, it actually cut the whole thing.
Yeah, they would clean all this off with their machete, and they would get it down to where it all looked like that.
Okay. So you said that then they just simply put it back in there for a couple of days? Just to stay there?
No, no,
And
leave
then
it
they would
out
put
there.
It in the shade for a couple
Leave
days.
it out in the air.
This will kind of get this kind of crust. I don't know how exactly to say it, but basically it'll look like it's crusted over a bit. And I think they did that to kind of help control some of the fungus, which is there's a fungus in Honduras called black cicatoca, which it affects all of the bananas all the time, and so you live with a certain amount of it, and so that's why if they've got it pretty bad, they'll try using a little bit of bleach on the corm to hopefully not transmit it, although you know they're using the same machete without cleaning it off, so it kind of gets around that way too.
Oh, okay.
So,
But that would be that style of doing it. I asked Rick, do they do that in Thailand? He said no. So
I've
that's
seen
just one
different
way of doing it.
variations of bananas are very forgiving.
Yeah.
planting like this, I've had, as long as I get the corm, and I've had a 100% success rate. The only times I've screwed up is when I just cut too high and didn't get the corm. So let's pop over and stick this sucker in the ground.
David, you know what?
You want me to bring your tools?
You can leave them there. I'll pick them up later.
Okay.
But thank you. No, this This one's just a little, that one's a baby, it's a pup. But the mother has fruit on it.
Irrigation. Once they had it echo, I want to do that. Yeah.
You could have left that right there.
Could have left it where it was? Absolutely. But the idea is to plant this, then there's going to be pups here, and I'm just propagating and propagating and propagating.
It's like aloe. I have aloe at the house. It's like unbelievable.
I'll have to give you a clipping.
You don't need to do anything to it either.
Yeah, you know, I mean, even the stuff you don't want.
So I just wanted to showcase how I plant my bananas. Again, there's a million ways to do it. My way
Or the highway.
isn't. If you don't do it this way, you're not a real permie. There's a million ways to do it, a million ways to be successful. You know, I'll explain my reasoning for it. But one of the things that I do is I'm concerned about the trace elements. So I bring in two things. I bring in lava rock, which is chock full of a variety of trace elements. This is going to be giving, this is basically my long-term trace elements. If one day peak oil hits and we're not going to Home Depot and getting our fertilizer and trace elements and stuff like that, I'm still going to have them because basically the microbes are still going to be doing their business, and that's going to cleave off little bits of trace elements. So this is my long-term stuff. Plus there's great little holes for water and microbes and stuff like that. In addition, the other thing I have in is azomite. Azomite is volcanic ash, and it contains a whole host of trace elements as well. You can go to azomite.com, they have an analysis sheet, and just, I think it's 70-something different trace elements. Now, plants aren't going to need all of that, but it does have the ones that they do need. In addition, you know, for example, in I believe 1984 is when they finally figured out that nickel was an essential nutrient. We didn't know that nickel was an essential nutrient. It was theorized, you know, blah, blah, blah. But 2004 was a time when they figured out that plants needed this additional nutrient. I wouldn't be surprised if there's interactions between different elements that maybe aren't essential, but allow the plant to do something with an antioxidant or God knows what, where if that element isn't present in sufficient quantities, it's not producing this really beneficial thing to humans and animals. Just a theory, I could be full of it, probably am. Anyway, so I take some of this and I throw it in the hole and all over the place.
I know this is crazy, but where did you get lava rock? At the grill department of Home Depot?
Actually, yes. You can get red lava rock at Home Depot and Lowe's in the garden center. They have it in the bags. I get the black lava rock in bulk at Superior Rock on Shirley.
Oh, okay. So
I actually have some videos out there where I did completely unscientific comparisons between plants in pots with black lava rock and without, and the differences are pretty startling. But you know, they weren't scientific; they were one of each. But yeah, to each their own. Azomite I truck in. It's really unsustainable, and I hate to admit to that. But
I get it on kelpforless.com.
how much
yeah.
do you get it for their shit?
I think it's $40 for a 37-pound bag.
44 pounds?
37 pounds, I think it was.
Andre can get it for I think 40 something for 44 pound ship. So yeah, there's good places to get it. So anyway, then I put in the soil like normal, but I don't go all the way up.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Nice. You are a natural.
Something for everybody in this Fermi class, huh?
That's right.
Hell yeah.
Chicken
Heck
and
yeah. So then when it gets to about that point, I like to water it in real good just to keep stuff from settling. I found if I'm lazy and don't water it in, I come back in about a week or two and there's a nice pit. And my plant is a lot lower. And as you can see, it's definitely going down. If I hadn't watered it, it would have kind of gone. You know, I've seen people just come in with their shovel and just hammer it down real good. Different ways of doing it.
Your water stinks.
Thank you.
Got my plum valve out over here.
have sulfur water too. I don't know who doesn't have sulfur water.
That looks pretty good there, David.
I probably wouldn't do it in the winter, but that's just me. There may be good times to do it in the winter. So then I also get a little bit of compost. I like to put this around the plant because I want to build organic matter as soon as possible, get away from the sandy soil so that potassium is able to be held in the soil better. Plus, you know, a little bit of fertilizer, all that jive. So I just throw that around. That's stuff you don't want, buddy. From there, I have a little bit of trouble with Bermuda grass in this area. So I just break out the trusty cardboard. Get the tape off.
Is that horse manure in there?
That's horse. Actually, that's donkey and goat.
Oh.
I'm not quite living off the land yet.
Where'd you get that?
That pizza place is on the corner of Immokalee and 41 by Mims Warehouse in that center. It's really, really good.
It's a truly organic.
Yep.
What's the name of the business,
Says
right?
so right on the board.
So then I mulch the heck out of it.
Oh wow, all these?
Yep.
And more.
Ready to dump one day?
Sure.
It is a lot of money. That's why my bananas aren't doing anything. I guess so. That's the problem. Shovel it into the bucket and out.
Usually put cardboard all the way around, right?
No, it's the same thing.
I killed most of them.
No, this is aged. This is aged. That's come on. Mine looks the same.
No, that's from Green Club Recycling. Okay. From there,
It's the same
we're
thing.
Permies, right? So we like nitrogen.
Where do you
fixtures.
think they get it from?
Cowpeas.
From the same thing. Ground up shit.
One way of doing it.
RJ, get all the
So first you dump it on the grass and then you pick them up.
Anyway, so that's how I do it. I'd love to hear other people's methods. Oh, the all-important Dwarf Orinoco sign. So now we got a new baby coming.
Cool.
Oh, water. So, anyone want to share their methods, how it differs, improvements on that, what you would do differently?
No, but the question, I mean, you just said that you cut, they cut, you know, the whole thing. And so how is that gonna affect the growth? Is it, this one has advantage over the one that's
It's already a couple of months ahead, no?
Well,